I'm Alison Maitland. I'm a sports psychologist. Obviously, I work in sport, but I also work in women's leadership development. And the tool I'd like to share with you today is called the Wrinkly Sock. And I confess it's not my own tool, or the metaphor is not based on me. It comes from a book called Mindfulness and Acceptance Workbook for Teen Anxiety by Sheri Turrell and colleagues. And the reason I've chosen this is because when you work in sport, it's acute anxiety is a part of doing sport. You're doing something that's really important. And whether it's you're a rower where your lungs are bursting and your legs are on fire, or you're a team player where you think you might let the team down or you might not get selected if you play, you're nearly always doing something that's pretty important to you. And so anxiety is a big part of what we do. And so I love this metaphor because it allows you to work with that acceptance part of the work that we do in ACT, of that kind of taking what's offered, or in the language that Jenna and I use, it's about accepting being uncomfortable. That's how we use it. And the reason I've chosen this and I use it a lot, is because it has a real link to the physical. When you work with athletes like they're used to being in their body. They're used to noticing sensations and urges, their heart rate, their stomach, their legs, their arms. So it's a really lovely active tool to work with. And so here's how it goes. And it starts, I usually start with a bit of a metaphor to introduce it. And so I usually tell a story, and you can make your own version of this story, but something like, it's a day of a competition and you're a little bit late and you've just had your breakfast. So you rush upstairs, you clean your teeth, put your kit on, put your trainers on. And the last thing you do is put your socks on. And what you've done is you've put on that wrinkly sock, that really annoying sock that slips down your leg. And already you've kind of got that gross feeling of thinking, oh, what's it going to be? But anyway, you haven't got time because you've got to catch the bus to get to your competition. So you get the rest of your stuff, pick your kit bag up and go downstairs. By the time you got to the bottom of the stairs, guess what? That sock is already halfway down your foot. You can feel it kind of rubbing, and you've got the bare flesh in the bottom of your trainer. Anyway, you pick your kit bag up and you get to the front door. And you go, oh, there it is again. I'll solve it. You yank it right up again, pull it right up. You lace your trainer really tightly. And in the process of doing that, your kit bag falls off and all your stuff falls out onto the floor. And guess what? You see the bus going by. You've missed the bus to your competition. And your sock is still wrinkled in your shoe. And so the question I'd then say, once we've let that metaphor sit, was go, okay, that sounds like a pretty bad day, a pretty rubbish day, that, what's made it rubbish? And quite often, the athlete I'm working with would say, well, it's the sock's fault. Oh, okay, really, or, it would have been okay if I'd have got up earlier, or if I'd, if I put some spare socks in my kit bag. And I usually then go, okay, but what if your wrinkly sock? You're always going to have a wrinkly sock when you turn up as an athlete. There's always going to be something you might not know about, or you might not be able to control. So if you're a rower, however much you train, that race is still going to be uncomfortable. You're still going to have burning thighs. If you're a team player, there might be an opponent who plays brilliantly. You can't do anything like that. So you're still going to feel those kind of feelings and sensations, have those thoughts in your mind. So what if we were to leave the sock wrinkled? And so that's then where we do another exercise and actually get them to put a pair of socks on if they haven't got one on already, and get something, if they haven't got a wrinkly sock, to make that sock uncomfortable. So put a bit of tissue paper in, or if they've got a tiny little stone, if you've ever had that feeling of a stone in your shoe, it's uncomfortable. You kind of want to, you stop, don't you, and want to empty your shoe out if you've got something in it. But actually the exercise that we do together is to get them to spend quite a bit of time during a day of just going around with their wrinkly sock or their uncomfortable sock on, and to leave that sock where it is, even if it feels uncomfortable, and then to reflect on that at the end of the day, or the next time we speak, or sometimes we do it in session together as well. Can you walk around the room now? What does it feel like? What do you notice? What do you want to do? Can you make space for the pinching feeling? What are those feelings? Describe them to me. So you get all of that kind of lovely space to do some acceptance work, and help them to notice that they can still, eat their breakfast, connect with me, write something, move around with that uncomfortableness. So that's the wrinkly sock.